What if I told you that a divine code is hidden within every flower, every seashell, every breath you take, and even in the architecture of the cosmos itself, a sequence of numbers so ancient, so precise, and so mysteriously recurrent, that it appears to be the signature of creation? This is not a man-made formula, nor a product of coincidence. It is a whisper from the source, a sacred rhythm encoded in nature, guiding the unfolding of life with mathematical grace. You've seen its pattern in the spiral of a sunflower, the curve of a hurricane, and the arms of distant galaxies. But this isn't just about numbers. It's about a key that opens a door between the visible world and the unseen realms of spiritual intelligence, the Fibonacci sequence, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and onward, is more than a numerical progression. It is a mystical language, a pulse, a heartbeat of divine intelligence that flows through the universe. But why does this pattern emerge again and again, and more importantly, what is it trying to teach us? Not just about the external world, but about our own spiritual evolution. In this video, we'll go far beyond the surface-level fascination with beautiful spirals and golden proportions. We'll explore the esoteric history behind this sequence, tracing its presence through ancient teachings, sacred geometry, and mystical philosophies from east to west. We'll dive deep into the metaphysical structure of the sequence, revealing how it mirrors the soul's journey toward balance, harmony, and awakening. By the end, you'll understand why sages, mystics, and secret societies alike revered this sequence as a spiritual truth hidden in plain sight. You'll see how to recognize its presence in your own life, and how to align with its wisdom to unlock deeper intuition, creative flow, and inner transformation. Because the Fibonacci sequence isn't just a pattern to observe, it's a vibration to embody. Are you ready to follow the spiral back to its source? Long before Western mathematicians began to explore patterns in numbers, ancient civilizations were already aware of a sacred geometry that governed the structure of the universe. The Fibonacci sequence, though named after Leonardo of Pisa, known as Fibonacci, who introduced it to the West in the 13th century, has far deeper roots. To understand its spiritual power, we must journey back, not just through time but through consciousness itself. In ancient India, the concept of recursive sequences appeared in Sanskrit texts as early as 200 BC, particularly in the study of poetic meter and musical rhythms. The mathematician Pingala described what we now recognize as early forms of the Fibonacci sequence while analyzing prosody, how syllables flow in patterns. But these weren't simply intellectual curiosities. In Vedic philosophy, numbers were infused with divine meaning. Mathematics wasn't separate from spirituality. It was a sacred tool for understanding Brahman, the ultimate reality. Meanwhile, across the sands of Egypt, priests inscribed geometric proportions onto temple walls, encoding sacred knowledge in the layout of their pyramids and sanctuaries. The same proportions governed the structure of the human body and the design of their gods. Everything was patterned according to a divine blueprint. To them, the spiral was not just a form, it was the unfolding of consciousness itself. The Greeks, inheritors of Egyptian and Babylonian wisdom, took this further. Pythagoras, more mystic than mathematician, believed that numbers were the essence of all things. He taught that harmony in music, architecture, and the cosmos could be explained through ratios, particularly those found in the golden mean, or phi, a number intimately connected to the Fibonacci sequence. For Pythagoreans, understanding these harmonies was a spiritual act, a way to draw closer to divine order. Centuries later, Renaissance thinkers like Leonardo da Vinci rediscovered these secrets through the study of anatomy, architecture, and nature. The spiral found in a seashell was the same found in a hurricane. The curve of the human ear matched the proportions of the nautilus. These weren't mere aesthetic coincidences. Artists and alchemists alike saw them as symbols of the soul's journey, a spiral inward and upward, toward enlightenment. Even within mystical traditions like Kabbalah and Hermeticism, sacred geometry, particularly spirals and proportional sequences, symbolize the unfolding of divine consciousness through different planes of existence. The tree of life itself is a map not just of the universe but of inner transformation. The Fibonacci sequence in this light is a cipher, a spiritual mirror that reflects the way energy expands and contracts, grows and returns. And here lies the heart of the mystery. This sequence, while mathematical, is not cold or mechanical. It breathes, it pulses, it grows with the same rhythm as the spiral galaxies in the heavens and the unfurling of a fern on Earth. Each number emerges from the union of the two before it, echoing the sacred principle of duality resolving into unity, male and female, light and dark, matter and spirit, creation through divine synthesis. This is why ancient wisdom keepers guarded such knowledge, not out of secrecy, but reverence. They knew that encoded in these patterns was the architecture of the soul itself, and those who could read the code would walk in harmony with the very breath of the cosmos. To unlock the spiritual message hidden within the Fibonacci sequence, we must first understand its structure, not simply as numbers, but as a metaphor for life itself. At its most basic level, the sequence begins with 0 and 1. From there, each new number is born from the sum of the two preceding ones. 0 plus 1 are 1, 1 plus 1 are 2, 1 plus 2 are 3, 2 plus 3 are 5, 3 plus 5 are 8. And so it continues. This progression forms the skeleton of what is known as the golden spiral, which curves outward infinitely with perfect proportion, never chaotic, always balanced. But within this mathematical elegance lies a spiritual teaching. All growth, all evolution begins with stillness and unity. 0. The void, the womb of all potential. 1. The spark of awareness, consciousness emerging from the abyss. Together, they initiate a chain of unfolding. In esoteric symbolism, this mirrors the dance between the unmanifest and the manifest, the formless and the formed. Creation in its essence is the movement from nothing into something, an eternal spiral of becoming. What makes this sequence so powerful is not just its recurrence in nature, but its deeper metaphysical rhythm. It doesn't just describe growth. It reflects the quality of organic, harmonious growth. Unlike linear expansion, Fibonacci growth is recursive. It loops back before moving forward. Each step draws from what came before, honoring the past to create the future. This is the rhythm of healing, of transformation, of spiritual ascent. We do not leap blindly. We evolve through reflection, synthesis, and integration. Consider how a seed becomes a flower. It doesn't explode into existence. It unfolds, petal by petal, cell by cell, each part building upon the last in sacred proportion, just as our spiritual journey does. We awaken in stages. Each realization spirals into the next, and when aligned with this pattern, growth feels effortless, natural, supported by the current of life itself. But when we resist, when we try to force outcomes or skip stages, we lose the spiral and fall into fragmentation. The Fibonacci sequence whispers, trust the unfolding. There is a divine timing encoded in everything. Look closer, and the golden spiral formed by the sequence reveals something astonishing. It never spirals toward chaos. Its expansion always remains balanced by a center point, an axis of stillness around which all growth orbits. This is the soul's path. As we expand in knowledge, experience, and being, we are not meant to drift aimlessly. We are meant to spiral outward with purpose, anchored by our inner truth. The deeper our center, the broader our reach. This is more than theory. It's a living, breathing truth that you can feel in your own body. Your fingerprints trace spirals. The shape of your cochlea, the spiral in your DNA, the galaxies above, all follow this same blueprint. You are not separate from it. You are an expression of it. And by understanding this sequence, you begin to align not just with the laws of nature, but with the sacred geometry of your own consciousness. In the next part, we'll go deeper, exploring how the Fibonacci sequence not only mirrors growth and evolution but reveals the path toward balance, healing, and spiritual mastery through its hidden codes and divine proportions. As we journey deeper into the spiral of Fibonacci, we begin to see that it isn't just a mathematical curiosity. It is a metaphysical map, encoded with layers of meaning that point to the laws of divine harmony. One of the most powerful aspects of this sequence lies in what emerges as it unfolds. The golden ratio, or phi, approximately 1/618, as the Fibonacci numbers progress. The ratio between consecutive numbers converges closer and closer to phi. But what does this number truly represent? Phi is often called the divine proportion, for a reason. In sacred geometry, it is the measure of perfect balance, not symmetry in the rigid sense, but dynamic equilibrium. It is found in the spirals of galaxies, the shapes of shells, the growth of plants, and the proportions of the human body. When architects of ancient temples or artists of sacred iconography sought to reflect divine beauty, they used phi to encode higher order into form. It was believed that when a structure echoed the proportions of phi, it became a conduit for divine energy, a resonance chamber for spirit. Now take that further. If the Fibonacci sequence is the unfolding process, phi is the destination, a vibrational alignment with divine intelligence. And this journey from chaos to order, from seed to spiral, reflects the path of the initiate. Spiritual awakening does not happen all at once. It spirals through phases, moments of expansion, contraction, clarity, and confusion, yet always drawing closer to the center of truth. This is the path of the seeker, moving ever nearer to union with Source. But there's a deeper paradox here, hidden in plain sight. While the sequence is governed by logic and recurrence, the beginning of the pattern is seemingly irregular. The first few numbers, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, don't appear to follow any golden rule. It's only as the sequence progresses that phi begins to emerge. This is a profound spiritual metaphor in the beginning of any transformation. Things feel uncertain, messy, undefined. The divine pattern is not yet visible, but as we persist, as we grow with awareness and trust, the pattern reveals itself. Order arises from apparent chaos, meaning blossoms from confusion. This is why the Fibonacci spiral is not linear. It does not rush. It curves gently, organically, reflecting the pace of nature and the rhythm of the soul. It reminds us that spiritual evolution is not about instant enlightenment, but patient unfolding. Each phase prepares us for the next. Each insight deepens the spiral. In fact, many ancient initiatory paths, whether through the Egyptian mystery schools, the yogic path of Kundalini, or the hermetic ascent of the Tree of Life, mirror this spiral of ascent. Ever upward, ever inward, and even more mystically, the spiral is encoded in time itself, the way seasons cycle, the way our lives move through phases of death and rebirth, echoes Fibonacci's rhythm. You've likely felt it intuitively. Moments in life where growth accelerates, then stabilizes, then leaps forward again. These are not random. They are echoes of the sacred spiral, inviting you to move in harmony with the flow of the universe rather than against it. But perhaps the most esoteric layer is this. The Fibonacci sequence is not just a map of creation. It is a mirror of consciousness itself. Just as the sequence expands infinitely, so too does the capacity of the awakened mind. And just as every number in the sequence is born from union, so too is every soul a product of divine connection. You are not separate. You are a thread in the infinite weave, a note in the cosmic song, a spiral in the eternal unfolding of spirit. In the next section, we'll bring this wisdom into practice, exploring how you can use the Fibonacci sequence as a spiritual tool, aligning your daily life with the rhythm of divine harmony to foster healing, creativity, and awakening. If the Fibonacci sequence is the language through which the universe whispers its secrets, then tuning into that language means learning how to listen, how to live in alignment with the rhythm of sacred unfolding. This isn't about memorizing numbers or drawing spirals on a page. It's about embodying the spiral in your thoughts, your choices, your daily flow. The sequence becomes a spiritual compass when we allow its principles to shape the way we grow, heal, and evolve. Begin with awareness of cycles. Just as each Fibonacci number emerges from what came before, your life is a continuation of patterns. Some conscious, some unconscious. Observe where you are in your own spiral. Are you in a stage of stillness like the 0 before the 1? Are you in a moment of contraction, gathering lessons before the next expansion? Or perhaps you're stepping into a phase of rapid growth, where opportunities multiply in seemingly perfect timing. Recognizing these cycles helps you release resistance and trust the rhythm. You don't need to force growth. You need only surrender to the current that already moves through you. One practical way to align with the Fibonacci flow is through breath. The rhythm of 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 can be transformed into a breathing meditation. Inhale for 1 count, hold for 1, exhale for 2, then gradually expand. Inhale for 3, hold for 5, exhale for 8. As the pattern unfolds, your nervous system begins to entrain to the sacred ratio, calming the mind and grounding you into presence. With each breath, you're not just oxygenating the body. You're syncing with the spiral of life itself. You can also bring the spiral into your environment. Surround yourself with representations of Fibonacci in art, architecture, or nature. A seashell on your altar, a spiral drawn into your journal, plants like the sunflower or pine cone whose growth follows the Fibonacci pattern can be placed where you meditate or reflect. These aren't mere decorations. They are living reminders of your connection to divine order. They speak to your subconscious, gently tuning your awareness to the harmony that lies beneath the surface of all things. In moments of confusion or transition, trace the spiral in your mind. Visualize it expanding outward, then curving gently inward towards center. Let each loop represent a past lesson, a moment of clarity, a step in your evolution. Let it remind you, you are not lost. You are in motion. Every experience, no matter how fragmented it feels, contributes to your unfolding. The Fibonacci spiral teaches us that nothing is wasted. Even detours are part of the path. And if you're a creator, an artist, writer, musician, try composing with the sequence. Let your structures reflect the rhythm of 3s and 5s, the golden ratio guiding the movement of your work. The ancients believed that beauty born from sacred proportion carries an energetic resonance, a vibration that awakens something in those who experience it. When you create in alignment with this pattern, you're not just expressing, you're channeling. Lastly, consider journaling or meditating on the question, what part of me is ready to expand? Use the Fibonacci sequence as a mirror. Where are you doubling back to integrate? Where are you being called to take the next step in your spiral? What is seeking to emerge through you right now? The more you live in rhythm with this sacred pattern, the more life begins to flow. Not perfectly, but harmoniously. And in that harmony, you'll find something rare and powerful, a sense of deep trust, a knowing that you are not random, not broken, not separate. You are part of the spiral, part of the pattern, part of the divine. There is a hidden order to life, subtle, sacred, and persistent. The Fibonacci sequence is one of its many signatures, revealing itself in the petals of flowers, the whirls of galaxies, and the rhythms of your breath. It is not simply a formula etched into the fabric of nature. It is an invitation to see the world not as chaos, but as choreography, not as fragments, but as a spiral in motion, ever unfolding, ever returning, ever ascending. Through this spiral, we glimpse a greater truth, that growth is not linear nor predictable, but rhythmic and purposeful, that every step, whether a breakthrough or a breakdown, is part of the divine unfolding of who you are becoming. You are not separate from the pattern. You are the pattern, a living embodiment of sacred geometry in motion. As we've journeyed through history, mystery, and application, you've seen how ancient minds understood something modern science is only beginning to rediscover, that mathematics, nature, and spirit are inseparable, that the structure of the cosmos reflects the structure of consciousness, and that by aligning with this hidden harmony, we align with the source of life itself. So as you move through your days, begin to notice the spiral in the way conversations loop and return with new insight, in the way your dreams evolve, in the way healing circles back not to the same point but to a higher octave. Let it be a reminder. Nothing in your life is random. Every moment, every experience, every lesson is part of the sacred sequence, part of the unfolding of your soul. The spiral never ends. It only deepens. And now, the question is yours to carry. How will you walk the spiral from this moment forward? Take a breath, Feel the rhythm and begin again.